Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your boy Jalen DeLance with Mastery Gains, and in today's video I have a nice voiceover for y'all. I've been getting a lot of questions on my bulk. You know, what am I doing for my bulk, and you know, how am I hitting all these PRs, and you know, what's the difference between when I'm bulking versus when I'm cutting. And that's why I decided to make this video, to break down my process for this bulk that I'm on. If you haven't been watching my YouTube videos, go check them out. I've been hitting PRs. Right now I am sitting at about 205 pounds. I started my bulk out at about 200 pounds. So I put on about 5 pounds in about 2 months. And honestly, I don't really want to gain too much weight. My main focus is increasing my strength and performance in the gym. So I'm going to break down my bulk into two different topics. One being the performance, which I just talked about briefly, and also the diet. So in terms of the actual technicalities of the workout, I am on a very unique split. It is a push-pull legs, and then it's mixed with a upper-lower split. So a typical week for me looks like I do push on Monday, pull on Tuesday, legs on Wednesday, and then I'll take a rest day, and then I'll do upper body, and then I'll do lower body, and then I'll take 2 rest days. And sometimes I'll throw the 2 rest days in between the push-pull legs and upper body, and then take 1 rest day. But I really just go off how my body feels. And the reason I'm doing this is, for one, the push-pull leg portion of the week allows me to strategically focus on those similar muscle groups, and then the back end of the week allows me to get the frequency I want, while also keeping me out of the gym 6 days a week. So typically I would follow a push-pull legs, a traditional push-pull leg split, where I do push-pull legs, rest, then push-pull legs again. But instead of doing push-pull legs again, I've just combined those, that second half of the push-pull leg split, and made it into an upper-lower split. That way I'm only in the gym 5 days a week, and I'm saving more time and still getting the same amount of volume and frequency. So I've talked about volume, but I haven't really talked about load. So I'm going to kind of break it down even more. There's 2 things you want to manipulate when you're on a bulk, or when you're trying to increase your muscle size, or pretty much when you're trying to increase performance. You should be manipulating your output through volume and load. So the volume is going to be pretty much the amount of reps you can do, how frequently you can hit the muscle, and when it comes to load, that's just going to be the amount of weight that you can move. So what I do is, the first 3 weeks of a month, so there's typically 4 weeks in a month, the first 3 weeks of the month, I'm strictly focusing on high volume and moderate load. So my reps are going to be between 8 to 12 reps, sometimes even 15 reps, but not often. I don't stay on the 15 rep side really at all. I'll throw it in every once in a while, but I'm really sticking between that 8 to 12 rep range for 3 weeks. And then on that 4th week is when I'll drop my reps to about 5 reps, maybe 1 to 5 reps. It just depends on the programming. But typically on that 4th week, we'll float around that 1 to 5 rep range, and we'll start focusing on PRs and strength gain. So that 8 to 12 rep range is going to be focusing on muscle endurance and hypertrophy, and then that 1 to 5 rep range is where I get to focus on the strength and my 1 rep maxes. So like I said, I'm spending the majority of the time focusing on hypertrophy and muscle endurance, and then for like a week, I'll focus on PRs and, you know, strength gains. And that, compounded with consistency, tends to lead me to hit more PRs. And also, not outside of the PRs, I'm just able to perform better in the gym. I'm able to move weight easier than before the bulk. I'm able to, you know, pretty much get more volume and increase my recovery time while getting more volume, if that makes sense. So the faster you're recovering during your process or during your bulk, the better. That means you're making really great results. So if you're able to increase your volume and increase your load and still recover really fast, that means you're making really great results. If you're in the gym a lot and you're lifting a lot of weight and getting a lot of volume, but you're not recovering fast, and when I say fast, I don't mean that you're recovering instantly, but if you're following a split or some type of program, you should be recovered enough to perform the next workout that you have to do the next day. If on Monday you do push day, and then on Tuesday you can't move your arms, that means that you're doing too much volume and you need to dial it back a bit. Now that doesn't mean you're not going to get sore. You still want to get sore, but you shouldn't be sore to the point where you can't move. So that all comes with good programming. So I'm not going to get too far into that. If you want good programming, hit your boy up. So that pretty much sums up the performance. Like I said, I focus on manipulating volume and load. I fall in the hypertrophy rep range for about 3 weeks, and then I focus on PRs and strength gains for 1 week. And outside of that, I forgot to say, outside of that, I prioritize compound lifts. So when it comes to a bulk, you want to add more size to your muscle. That should be your main goal of a bulk, is to add more size, because the size is going to give you the most benefit and the most bang for your buck. And in my opinion, and it can be scientifically backed up also, the only way to increase the size of a muscle, the best way to increase the size of a muscle is going to be using compound lifts. So during your bulk, you should be strictly focusing on compound lifts. This is going to be any lift that involves multiple joints. So this is going to be like your bench press, your squat, your deadlift, your military press, your barbell rows, your pull-ups, your dips, your lunges. You should be prioritizing increasing the performance on all of these exercises, and more so than all of them, you should focus on the one that targets the muscle that you want to increase. So if you're trying to increase the size of your chest, you should be focusing on the bench press. If you want to focus on increasing the size of your legs, you should be focusing on the squats and the deadlifts. If you want to focus on increasing your glutes, the size of your glutes, you should be focusing on barbell hip thrusts, and so on and so forth. So focus on compound movements, and then focus on your performance, and then that's going to play a very large part into the results that you get. So yeah, that sums up the performance portion. Now when it comes to the nutrition part, I would say this is actually going to be the hardest, because honestly, you can find a really great program that works for you, and you can find a good workout program that works for you. And when it comes to the diet, you can even have the perfect diet program, but the hardest part about the diet is actually implementing it. Because even for me, I've been bulking for about 2 months, but there's still times where I have to eat, whatever amount of calories. I'm usually eating around like 27 to 3,000 calories a day. And then there's just some days where you have to eat, there's 500 calories left on the meal plan, and your stomach is full and you just don't really feel like eating. So I would say the hardest part is going to be the diet, because some days you're going to have to stuff yourself. And I hate to say that because it sounds unhealthy, but it's going to feel like that some days. But I would say that, before I get into the technicalities of the nutrition, when it comes to bulking and a bulking diet, the main thing that you need to do is you need to start your days early. Do not wait to noon to eat, because if you wait to noon to eat, or 1 o'clock or later in the day, you're not going to have as much of an appetite, and it's going to be extremely hard to get those calories in that you're going to have to hit. And that's just going to make it harder for you over the long term to get any results, because I find that during a bulk, if you miss 1 day on a bulk, it's going to set you back. So it's different than a cut. You can miss 1 day on a cut and you can kind of bounce back, but with a bulk, you cannot miss a day, because you're always, especially if you're on a high volume program, you're going to be constantly recovering. And when you miss a day of calories, it sets you back. So yeah, the main tip before I get into the technicalities of the nutrition is you need to start eating early. The earlier you eat, the easier it's going to be to get in all those calories. So yeah, but let's discuss the technicalities of the diet when it comes to bulking. And honestly, it's not that complicated. If you've been on a successful cut before, it should be easy for you to bulk in terms of programming, because all you have to do is increase the carbs. Some coaches or trainers may recommend that you increase the fats or increase the protein, but from my experience and from what I've seen with clients, you don't have to increase the fat or the protein much. You can increase the protein if you want, if you want to increase recovery, but I don't recommend it. You should just increase the carbs. And when I say increase the carbs, I mean increase them substantially. I would say almost double to triple, but don't do it all at once. So don't just start your bulk and then increase your carbs, 3 times what it was for your cut. Start slow, increase it by 2, or increase it by 1.5, then 2, then 2.5, then 3, and slowly increase your carbs as needed. So if you're going to the gym and you're feeling really run down, that might mean, outside of if you have bad programming, that could be an issue. But if you're going to the gym and you're following your program to the T and you're feeling run down, then it means you may not be eating enough, and specifically you may not be eating enough carbs. So increase your carbs as needed, based off how you recover, and also based off of your performance. If you feel like your performance is stagnant, start increasing the carbs more, and you should start to have more energy in the gym, which should allow you to move more weight. So Into a more technical aspect, when it comes to the numbers, I would say you can do about 1 gram per body weight of protein when it comes to a bulk. In terms of carbs, like I said earlier, you should start with whatever you use for your cut. You should probably start off at about, it depends on what your carbs is, and it depends on your experience level, but just as a general rule of thumb, I would say you should increase your carbs by about 1.5 of what it was when you're cutting, and then see what that does for you. And then when you feel like it's time to increase them, you can start increasing it by 0.5, or even increasing it by 2 times if you feel like it. So yeah, just focus on increasing the carbs, keep the proteins and fats about the same. And you know, if you're feeling run down, check your diet again, and then increase your carbs a little bit more. And also, even though I said don't increase your fats, I think it's good to throw in some high fat days every now and then, just to get that, you know, just to get that hormonal boost. But don't consistently keep your fats too high, because having a high intake of fats is going to increase the likelihood that your body puts on body fat. So yeah, that's pretty much my nutrition. Oh yeah, before I close out the video, the last thing that you should do when you're on a bulk, and I didn't really talk about this earlier, is that you should still be eating a very, very clean diet. I'm not saying that your diet should be as perfect as it is when you're cutting, but I would say about 70% of your diet should still be clean. Home cooked meals, healthy oils, lean proteins, and you can throw in some fatty proteins also. But do not start taking in a large amount of fat when you're on a bulk, because that's just going to make you more fat. And typically I see this from people who eat out too much during the bulk. So if you eat out a lot during the bulk, you're going to get an excess amount of fats, and the excess amount of fats on top of the excess amount of carbs is going to just make you fat. And like I said earlier, we do not want to gain a ton of fat during the bulk. So yeah, that was my last tip. Do not eat out. Do not eat a large amount of fats during your bulk, and in other words, do not eat out a lot during your bulk. I would still not be overly strict, so I still would enjoy myself. I would still have, you know, maybe 1 meal at a restaurant per week, or 1 meal at a restaurant per day. But if you really want to have something from a restaurant, or you feel like you want to get an excess amount of calories, just buy it at the store and make it at home, or you know, get snacks and things that you can get from the store, because the things that you get from the store are going to be, I mean, they're still going to be processed, but they're not going to be as, the calories aren't going to be as the calories are going to be more accurate. When you eat out, the calories are not accurate, so you just end up getting way more calories than you need to. So once again, we don't want to get an absurd amount of calories during our bulk. We want to get just the perfect amount to put on some muscle, and avoid putting on fat gain. So that pretty much sums up my protocols and processes for a bulk. I said a lot in this video, and I could still speak more onto it. And as I progress in my bulk, I'll start sharing more tips and information on how I'm being successful. But this video should be pretty helpful, and if it is, you should be sure to like the video, and be sure to drop a comment, share this video with anybody you think it may help. And if you're on a bulk like me, you know, it's that time of the year to just keep going hard. And then at next summer, we're going to go on the cut, and we're going to get sexy for the summer. So I will be seeing y'all soon. I have more content on the way. Once again, be sure to like the video, share the video, comment, and follow your boy on the gram. And I will see y'all in the next video. Peace.